This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Jedley's award-winning children's book, The Great Maratini.
A very long time ago, there was a boy named Sam who liked to do his magic tricks, and he was quite the ham. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. Every trick Sam tried to do would somehow come out wrong, but Sam just kept on going, and that's what made him strong. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. One day as he traveled, he helped a stranger in need, and this was not a trick, oh no, but a magical good deed. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage.
To get your autographed copy of the giant bilingual edition of The Great Maratini, please visit greatmaratini.com.
Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, jumbo! Bienvenidos! Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast and iTunes #1 kids and family podcast. Thanks to your great support. We have a wonderful guest for you today. One of our favorite guests and absolutely my favorite mermaid. She is the author of The Little Unicorn, her brand new book. Her name is Sheri Fink, and you are going to love Sheri Fink and her whimsical world. You know what we would love? We would just love it if you would take a moment to visit readingwithyourkids.com/yummy. Readingwithyourkids.com/yummy. When you go there, you're going to find out about our great friends at Love with Food. Love with Food. It's this great subscription program that introduces you to fantastic snacks that you and your families will absolutely love. Check out their deluxe box. They have 10 to 15 delicious all-natural snacks are included. There's no artificial flavoring, coloring, or MSG. There's no trans fats, no hydrogenated oil, no high fructose corn syrup. The snacks are natural, they're organic, or they're gluten-free. And you know, every time you sign up and become a subscriber to Love with Food, they'll donate a meal to a local food bank. Isn't that wonderful? It's like a win-win-win. Please check it out right now, readingwithyourkids.com/yummy. Check out our friends at Love with Food. Joining us on the line right now from beautiful Los Angeles and California, she is the founder, the creator of the whimsical world. Please welcome to the show the author of the brand new book, The Little Unicorn, Sheri Fink. Sheri, how are you?
Hi, I'm fantastic. I'm excited to be here today.
Great to have you back. Sheri's been a guest a number of times on my podcast. She is always informative and fun, and I always call her my favorite mermaid.
Aww.
So tell us about The Little Unicorn.
Well, The Little Unicorn is my brand new book, and it's about a unicorn that loses her sparkle. And then she goes to find it in faraway places, only to discover that it was within the whole time. And the big message of the book is to build inner confidence, because when the little unicorn doubts herself, her colors and her magic fade, not only within herself, but also in her environment, which I think is exactly what happens when we doubt ourselves. We don't see things the same way. So I hope that it will empower kids to believe in themselves and to be spreading love, joy, and kindness and true friendship in this world.
Mm-hmm. And I love the imagery of losing your sparkle. That's certainly something that kids, especially little girls, are into.
Yes, and big girls too.
Yeah, well, yes, it's true. My daughter, when she was 4 or 5 years old, we had a teenager who was also dancing in the show, so it would be safe for my daughter to come and tour with me. And the teenager introduced my daughter to sparkles. And boy, I was covered in sparkles for about 3 or 4 years, I think.
Yep, it's a regular occurrence in my house too.
Yeah, it's fun. This idea of empowering kids, it's something that runs through most of your books.
That's true.
Yeah. What is it that makes you so passionate about trying to help kids find that inner sparkle and connect and really build up that self-confidence?
Well, I think it goes back to my own childhood because I grew up in an environment that was very volatile and I had a lot of self-doubt. I was very shy. I had big ideas, but I didn't feel comfortable sharing them with people. And I've found in my travels and in the school visits that Derek and I have done, my husband and I, we do a lot of things together now, but we've done so many things. And when I actually talk to the kids, like, they are brilliant. They are charming. They're amazing. They have no idea. And so I really wanted them, I want them to discover through reading these books that they're very special and there is something about them that they should share with the world and that it's okay. It's safe to glow and to sparkle and to be who you're meant to be. Yeah. And I think if we keep planting those seeds and nurturing the seeds that the parents and the teachers they have are already planting, that our world is just going to be a much better place where people grow up respecting each other and understanding that, you know, everybody has the ability to shine and you should. It's wonderful. It's inspiring. And when you're living your dream, you care less what other people think and what other people are doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that idea of just encouraging kids not only to find their own sparkle, but to respect the sparkle and the uniqueness in everyone they encounter.
Yes, it's so important.
Yeah. And Sheri alluded to her husband, Derek. He's been a guest on the show, Derek Taylor Kent, an amazing author in his own right. Authors of picture, I know, middle grade and young adult titles. Does he also have some picture books under his belt?
He does. He's actually got, oh my gosh, a handful of them now, including 2 bilingual picture books.
Excellent. I'm imagining the creativity that is happening in the Kent Fink household.
Yes, it is very magical. I think we are not normal, that's for sure.
Well, that's a good thing. That is a great
it's the
thing.
best.
Yes, absolutely. Now, one of the things you've kind of branded and kind of put all of your books under this umbrella of the whimsical world. Tell us a little bit about the whimsical world.
Sure. Well, our mission is to inspire, delight, and educate kids while planting seeds of self-esteem and high achievement. And everything that we do with our company aligns with that mission. The books are just one facet of it, but one of the ones that we love. And before I met my husband, I had a brand called The Whimsical World of Sheri Fink. And when we started, once we got engaged and we knew we were going to create our life together, we're like, we should combine business forces too, because I had the inspirational piece, the empowerment, the social emotional learning, and Derek had the humor and the fun and the getting kids to fall in love with reading. So we're like, let's create something together that combines the strengths of both of our brands. And that's how we came up with Whimsical World.
Excellent idea. Working together, that teamwork. Now, are you collaborating on any books yet?
Oh, yes. Actually, we had our first collaboration come out September 2017 called Counting Sea Life with the Little Seahorse. And that one was a STEM book for ages 0 to 5. It teaches counting up to 30 and has a fun rhyming adventure and a surprise ending that gets them to want to open every book. And that was really fun. And then right now we're not working on any new titles together. I'm sure we will in the future. But we both had a bunch of solo projects that we had already had in the pipeline that we're very excited about now. And, creating live experiences and some product launches on the way. We're really branching out beyond just the books.
That's excellent. And I knew that Sheri was on, and Sheri and Derek were both on to talk about the Counting Seahorse book. I just wanted to give Sheri a chance to remind us.
Thank you.
Go back into the archives and listen to that episode of the show. Now, I know one of the things you and Derek do together is you do a lot of live appearances and school visits. But I think your visits are, like mine, they're a little different than a typical author visit. Can you talk a little bit about what happens when Sheri Fink brings the whimsical world into a school?
Sure. Well, it's actually something that we were really excited to do because we have we kind of combine the best aspects. Like Derek has a theatrical background, and he combines that, and then I have this deep emotional connection with the students. And I think when you lead them down a path where they have this aha moment within themselves during the presentation, they never forget that. It stays with them, even if they haven't read the book. So, we call it an enrichment program. So it's not just like a school visit where we go and boringly read a book, like we just turned that place upside down with rainbows. It's like, like we just did one, yesterday, and I was a mermaid. So when the kids walked through the door, they lost their minds. And we had so much fun because we were just bringing the whimsy, right? Like you make it fun for them, and then you teach them in ways that they don't realize that they're learning. So they have a good time along the way. Like Derek likes to do this unfolding of a story, whether it's a scary school where they choose their own adventure, or if it's Principal Mikey, his new middle grade book, where they're helping solve a school mystery. They get a vote in it, and then they get to say why they think it's one way or another and what hypothesis they're making. And then for mine, I like to do a reading of one of the books, and then we discuss it. I tell them it right up front. I'm like, pick a special message that you get from the book and pay careful attention and see what you can share afterward. And sometimes they have the biggest insights, things that I didn't even consider when I wrote the book. They pulled that message from it. So it's wonderful to see. And then depending on the age group, because we customize the shows depending on the grades and what the school's needs are and to line up with their curriculum. But one of the things that I love to do is share how an idea becomes a book, because so many times we see the behind the scenes of a movie or like things like that, but you never see the behind the scenes of how a book gets made. So we talk about like taking the idea and each step along the journey, and then they get to interact with that. And when I have the time in the smaller groups, which right now we're doing really huge groups, but I like to hear everyone's voice at least once. And I think that's something that level of care and attention and detail that it would have made a huge difference for me as a kid if someone had come into my school and, really like helped me get out of my shell, but not in a way that put me on the spot and made me feel comfortable enough to share with them. And that's something that we love to do. We love to leave them feeling happy and joyful and having a new discovery and new learnings that support the teachers when they go back to the classroom too.
And I think one of the aha moments somebody who's listening might have is to understand, yes, the author of the Little Unicorn is absolutely connects great with the young kindergarten, intermediate, primary grade kids, but you also are able to connect and create meaningful experiences for, I know, middle school kids, because I know a group of middle school kids who loved having you with them.
Thank you. Yes, we actually do stuff for all ages, from everyone from the preschool TK all the way up to high school. And we're happy to do those things because we just tailor the presentation. Obviously with the high schoolers, I don't read a book to them, but I will give them an empowering talk and tell them lots of embarrassing stories about my life and what I've learned along the way so that they laugh and then they can take that aha moment with them too. So, and of course I love speaking for grown-ups too. It's just really, it's a gift to be able to have the opportunity to inspire people. And if I can embarrass myself enough that they laugh and they take that away with them, then it's worth it, Absolutely,
yes. I love talking to somebody who has kind of experienced the same thing I've been experiencing over the last 30 years. You know, the having a chance to go in front of a group of students, whether they're 20 kindergarten kids or 1,000 high school kids, it really is a magical moment, and it's an honor, and it's amazing the way that you can touch the kids and the way they can touch you too. You can. I've just heard these stories of you know, oh, how did you know to bring that kid up on stage, and how did you know that was a kid that needed that at that moment? And you know, my answer is I had no idea. No one told me. Just kind of led, you know, inspiration. But it's wonderful because there aren't very many people who have experienced what you and I and Derek have experienced.
Yeah. And I think what's different about us too, based on my experience with other authors and what other administrations have told us about people they've had come in, is that we don't have like a set show that we force the school to conform to. Mm-hmm. Like we are really in the flow. Like I was just thinking the other day how our shows are not linear. Mm-hmm. We bounce all over the place. Like it depends on what feels right for that moment. Mm-hmm. And we don't force the kids to learn the way that we think they should learn. It's like, oh, they're good on audio. Like, let's do more of that. Like, these kids are kinesthetic. Let's do more of that. Like, you kind of get an instinct for it. And you're not always perfect, but you try to do your best. Mm-hmm. And the kids know, like, it's like they appreciate that you're not just an adult coming in there telling them what to do, right? Like, we're really big kids. And I think they see that immediately when they walk through the door. You should see the way they react mm-hmm. when they see us. And so, you know, I think they're more willing to share. They're more willing to be open. And of course, as they get older, you know, certain grades, once they get to a certain level, no one wants to raise their hand. So you work with that, you know, and you say, oh, well, don't raise your hand if you can relate. And then everybody laughs, you know. Uh-huh. So like things like that you learn along the way, and it just makes it really fun.
Yeah, you know, as you were speaking about, you know, changing your show and not knowing exactly what you're going to do when you walk into a school and talking with and adapting your show. It's been a few years now, but I remember there was one school that asked me to send them a copy of my script so they could review it, and I'm like, what's that?
Like, I'm a real person. I don't work with a script.
Well, you can't. You really can't. My son was involved in a school show that was very successful and toured around the Boston area for a number of years, talking to kids about financial literacy, and that was a show with a script. And you know, I sat down with the playwright, you know, when she was developing it, and I said, yeah, you gotta put in some opportunities for flexibility, and you never know what's going to happen because you might not have an audience that just wants to sit down and listen to you sing about money. So it's great. It's wonderful. So I love sharing this. What can we expect next to come from the Whimsical World?
Well, the Little Unicorn is brand new. Mm-hmm. So we're doing a lot of events centered around that. We had a world premiere party a week ago, and 500 people came. Wow. It was in a mall, and 100 people were in line an hour before the doors opened, which was amazing. Mall security had to get involved. And
gotta keep those little ones involved. Get them in line.
Love that, you know, so we're seeing it really, we're really building the momentum, you know, and bringing more and more whimsy and being able to create these one-of-a-kind experiences for people is really exciting for me, because I don't just want to create on the page. I want to create immersive experiences that when the kid and the families are there, they're like, wow, like mm-hmm. everything magical is here. Yeah. Yeah. You know, mm-hmm. This is the most magical day ever. And that's what we want to create. And we have, Derek has a new book that's coming out on November 13th called Doggy Claus, Perro Noel, about Santa Claus's dog. Mm-hmm. And it's in English and Spanish. So that's going to be our next big release. Mm-hmm. And then I just gave final approval on my book for next spring, which I may do some pre-orders early. We'll see. I don't know how early, but but I'm really excited about it because it's going to be my first baby board book.
Ooh, neat. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I know we've whet everybody's appetite. Everybody's going to want to know where they can find out if they're going to be pre-orders for that board book and learn about Derek's new book. So tell us where people can find the Whimsical World on the internet.
Sure, you can go to our website. It's whimsicalworldbooks.com. And then on Instagram and Facebook, it's Whimsical World Books. And if you want to follow me personally, I am at Sheri _Fink, SHERI_FINK.
Excellent. And you should absolutely follow the Whimsical World on Instagram. Great pictures, lots of great mermaid pictures, and lots of great pictures from the schools. And if folks wanted to get involved and learn more about the school shows, they can also find that at Whimsical World?
Yes, yeah, and you can also find a listing of events at sherifink.com and derektaylorkent.com.
Awesome. Well, our guest tonight has been the author of so many books, but the author of the brand new book, The Little Unicorn. She's Sheri Fink. Sheri, thanks so much for being back.
Thank you. It was so much fun, as always.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Shannon Anderson. Shannon Anderson will be here. We hope you will be here too. You know, I mentioned at the beginning of the show that this is an iTunes #1 kids and family podcast, and that's all due to you. Due to you listening and subscribing and giving 5-star reviews and letting your friends know all about it and reposting our Facebook posts and retweeting us on Twitter and all of that great stuff. We're so excited. We're amazed every day to find out where you can find the Reading with Your Kids podcast. And if you are a fan, it would be, and you have a minute, there are a couple things you can do to help us out. So, like I said, we've been the #1. We've been hitting #1 on the iTunes Kids and Family chart almost every day in 2018, and that makes us really, really excited. You can also find us on Stitcher Radio, on iHeartRadio, on Podcast Addict, Podbean, Castbox, Pocket Cast. And if you listen to your podcast on any of those podcasting platforms, please do subscribe to us on those platforms. Even if you're subscribed on iTunes or Stitcher, subscribe to us on Podcast Addict or on Podbeans or on Pocket Cast. We also just found out that, and I don't know how this happened, but we are also being carried on Himalaya. Himalaya is the largest podcasting platform in China. 400 million people have downloaded the Himalaya player in China. And we know that people are listening because we're seeing, we just noticed a whole ton of downloads going to China. And so thank you, Sheshe, to all the people at Himalaya for picking up the show. We want to thank my favorite mermaid, Sheri Fink, for being here today. And, of course, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.